welcome. My name is Andrew, and this is the Who Dat Discussion, a New Orleans Saints podcast where we talk about all Saints news, opinions, and reactions. So before we get into some Saints-Vikings talk after the Saints beat the Vikings on Sunday Night Football, and we get into some trade deadline talk as the trade deadline is tomorrow, I just want to say if you like this podcast and haven't followed us already, you can follow us on Twitter at the Who Dat Dis, on Instagram at Who Dat Discussion, and then also you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, our Spotify channel, our iTunes channel, and our Google Play channel. And on there, please like. Also, please, leave comments, rate us, leave reviews. All that stuff is just really good for the podcast. And, just see what we're doing good, what we need to work on. That's all good stuff there. But, with all that said, I think we should just go right into some Saints-Vikings talk. I mean, usually we talk about some news, not really much news. I think later we'll talk a little about the trade deadline. But right now, I think we should get right into some Saints-Vikings talk here. So first, coming right out, the Saints won this game 30-20. I mean, we'll get all into it, so I think we'll just start with some notes. I mean, really, a couple of big notes here. The Saints played another great defensive line in the Vikings, and they only let up one sack in this one. So, I mean, again, look, with a really good defensive front, I mean, they have just some great players. Everson Griffin came back. He didn't look very good. He had an offsides. He really couldn't get to the quarterback. And also, Danielle Hunter, who, he's been really, really good this year. I think in the last video I said that he wasn't having a good year. No, he's having a great year. That was my fault. I must have misspoke there, but I feel like, looking at it, they also have Linval Joseph, who's really good against the run, and, the Saints offensive line, again, they completely shut down this front here, and look, they've been doing it week after week. We've been controlling basically the whole line of scrimmage. I mean, the defense, it took us some time to really take control. They were definitely giving us a challenge. I mean, that's one thing the Vikings did. They definitely gave us a challenge in this game, but I feel like, especially the offensive line, we were running the ball amazing. Again, this was a game that we would have won, I think, in 2017. I think this was not a shootout by any means. We got to me, it was more than a 2017 game. It was a 2009 game. I mean, the turnovers, stuff like that, which we'll all get right into. But, just looking at the big picture, I mean, right now we're 6-1. We're 4-0 on the road. And coming into this game, I had us winning this game in my season preview. But a lot of people didn't have this, the Saints winning this game, which is, look, we got the win. To me, this team, they showed that they are a Super Bowl contender in this game. I mean, obviously, knock on wood, but they have the ability to do that there. I think we'll see that even more against the Rams. That's obviously going to be a big game. But, looking at it, I feel like we have a lot of potential in this team, which I think is going to put us right into, our first storyline was that looking at this team, they were looking for turnovers all year long, and now this game, they finally, knocked down that door and got a couple of turnovers, two, and then almost the third one. So just, looking at the turnovers, Alex Anzalone and PJ Williams, they gave the credit to Alex Anzalone, but PJ Williams helped with the forced fumble on Adam Thielen in the red zone. That was just a huge play. That completely changed the game. Turning point of the game right there. I think that was really the reason that we helped come up on top, and I think we'll get to that when we talk about PJ Williams. But the way that the Saints, they were playing on defense, they were not playing good, especially, PJ Williams, who looked really, really bad, and he comes up, helps, and has made a very, very clutch play. I think that's really, really big there, but, it showed that this team, they came right, back from a setback. This team, it looked like that the Vikings were going to win this just like the first game of the 2017 season, because it looks like we were going to trade scores with them back and forth, but, we were going to fall behind just because we were on the road and it was going to be tough, and that was not the case. This turnover completely changed the game in the route there, and I think that, Thielen doesn't really fumble much. It was a really, really good play by Anzalone. Got to give him all the credit, got to give PJ Williams all the credit, and then we returned it, to about the 30, and then there was a, penalty on Laquan Treadwell to get it down to the 18. That's huge, and then obviously Kamara scores only 2 plays later, so that's obviously going to be the biggest turning point of the game. And then the second turnover, which is the PJ Williams pick 6, and to me, this just solidified that, this is our game to lose. And I think that was really, really big there. I think PJ Williams actually played pretty good in this game. Everyone's, saying that he was not good. He was my standout player this game just for a couple reasons. I don't think we win, if he doesn't make the 2 plays he makes, So I think that's, look, he was very, very up and down. And there were players that maybe outplayed him on a, play-to-play basis. But standout player that helped us win the most, I think it's PJ Williams, because if he doesn't have that pick 6, they were going to drive down. Maybe they would have scored a touchdown, tied the game, and they don't have the fumble. I think that, obviously I think those 2 plays way more than anything else for this defense. So I feel like that's why he is, standout player there. Just, it was really a miscommunication, but hey, a lot of, cornerbacks cannot catch balls and stuff like that, but I think that was really, really big there. Also, it seems like the Saints had no ill effects of, coming back into a place where they lost a playoff game, where they had a miracle happen against them. And I feel like that was really, really big. I mean, they came in here looking for redemption, and they got it. I think throughout the whole game, P.J. Williams got his redemption because at the beginning of the game, he was getting toasted. And then later, he actually came on and had a pretty good game. I think he was, played really, really good there. I feel like Marcus Williams played a good game as well. I think the secondary showed up in this game for the most part. Now, look, our secondary is not that talented where we're going to be able to stop, I think, the best wide receiver duo in the league. But we did good enough. I think we contained them. To me, Thielen, he had basically 72 yards, and then at the end when we started playing prevent, he got more catches. So to me, that's not that big of a deal there. But even Diggs, he didn't really play that good. I think it was all I think we did a really, really good job in this game. Also, got to give it to Dennis Allen, who I think a lot of Saints fans were criticizing because he wasn't rushing a lot. He had a lot of blitzes in this game, and you had a lot of people pin their ears back and get a couple of sacks. Sheldon Rankins had an amazing game, had 2 sacks, and then also looking at Davenport, who had 2 sacks as well, and he just played a wonderful game. I mean, you got to say he almost had the 3rd turnover but it was called down by contact when he sacked Kirk Cousins. But it was just a big play there. I thought that was really, really big. And then also another storyline was how is Eli Apple going to play? It's obviously the new Saints addition there, and I think he played pretty well. I mean, I think that's what you want to see, from Eli Apple. He wasn't amazing. He had a pass interference penalty, but he was much better than Ken Crawley. And really, there weren't many passes that went against him. He only had a couple of passes against him. It ended up being a good PI because that's put about 2 minutes extra. Because if he didn't foul him, it would have been a touchdown. So by fouling him, they had to go 4 downs against the end. So that was really big for time management's sake. So that was not the worst play in the world. But I think he played pretty solid there, much better than Crawley. And I think that's what you got to do. If he plays like this every game, that's a big plus for us. But I mean, look, he's not going to make that stud play, but he made some really, really nice plays, a couple of nice breakups. And then, so, especially, opposite Lattimore, he's going to get the worst receiver. And I think that he can really excel, in this situation here. I think he's did a good job in this game. Also, you got to look at the road success. We're 4-0 on the road, as I said earlier. I mean, right now, after this game, I said we don't really have I think we played our hardest road game this year, and as hardest road stretch here, but the 2-game stretch with the Ravens and Vikings. Really, now you're looking at the road games. Obviously, you have the Bucs, you have the Panthers, and you have the Bengals and Cowboys. To me, I think those are all pretty winnable games. I mean, look, will we probably lose one in there? I think we probably will. I don't think we're going undefeated away, but you never know. I mean, look, I feel like we've played our best game away, and we're playing really, really good away because we're able to run the ball. Kamara, Ingram, they did a really, really good job in this game being able to run the football. Also, you got to give the offensive line who just wore down this defense, and a team that's really hard to run against. We ran all over them. I feel like we just had a really, really good win here, and you're going to win these games on the road. That's going to be really, really big. The way obviously we're doing it, turnovers, good defense, clock management, great offense, really great play calling by Sean Payton. Really, I think there was good play calling by Dennis Allen as well. We bring a lot of blitzes, which I wanted to see more of, and that forced, issues for the Vikings and how they started to turn the ball over and good things started to happen. We'll get into, the group-by-group recap here, but I feel like, the way the Saints played, very, very solid effort, and I think that, if we keep on, having these solid efforts, especially on the road, we're going to be an extremely tough team to beat. The way this team's able to, to me, it's kind of like a code shift here. We can, if we want to, we can throw the ball all over you. And then, we can shift to basically being a completely different team and run you into submission. Or we can be the team that gets turnovers and, maybe we're not going to win, the clock management battle, but we're going to get a couple of turnovers, get points off the defense, 14 points off turnovers. That's going to be really, really big there. So really how this team plays, we basically are winning in completely different ways every week. And I think that's going to be a big thing in future games, playoffs, all that fun stuff. I mean, look, I'm not going to jinx some Saints making the playoffs, but we're looking really, really good right now. I think we're playing very, very strong football. Just the one last storyline is, will Sean Payton and Mickey Loomis go after another cornerback? Garyon Conley, maybe a player like that, or maybe you get an outside corner. You can get either or really, because then you can move Eli Apple into the slot, or he could play outside, so he could play both there. But would Sean Payton get another corner? And I just don't think they will. I think P.J. Williams has kind of done enough to stick around now. I mean, he says he played awful this week and that he's going to get better, but I really don't think that, especially this week, we play the Rams and, they're a great wide receiving core with, they have Cooks, they have Cooper Kupp will play in the slot against Williams, and then they also have Robert Woods. I mean, those 3 guys, they're going to be better, than P.J. Williams, and probably, they'll outclass P.J. Williams. if PJ Williams plays like he did in that first half against the Vikings. Now, if he comes out plays like he did in the third quarter in the Vikings, really played a strong third quarter, had the pick six, obviously. But it's not like he was even playing that bad. He was just playing the man and not the ball. And against these great receivers, you can't do that. See, like, now, look, I think Brandon Cooks and Robert Woods, they're not as good as, Diggs and Thielen. Those are, probably two top 15, top 10 wide receivers. They're very, very good. I don't think the Rams have that there, and I think that he may be able to, stop them just because he was pretty good at, going man-to-man. He was following around really good, but, they were making plays on the ball while he was making plays on the man, and that's why, they, were successful, and then PJ Williams wasn't. Second half, he kind of changed that a little, and he played better there. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if they went out and got another cornerback, but I just don't see it with the mindset of Sean Payton and Mickey Loomis there. But now on to our group-by-group recap. So first, we'll go right to quarterbacks as we always do, and so now this is really going to be, Taysom Hill and Drew Brees, and I'm going to give him a B- here. Brees didn't play well, really, this game. He played, I would say, average to below average. I mean, to me, he only had 120 yards, He had the one touchdown through his first pick of the year. I mean, he wasn't bad by any means, but I just don't think he was even close to the top of his game. I think we know that. I think everyone's, not going to fault that. His QBR was 47. His passer rating was like 85, around there. To me, it just wasn't, vintage Drew Brees, but we didn't need vintage Drew Brees tonight, so it wasn't that big of a deal. I just think that, he didn't really throw the even mid to deep ball. It wasn't there. They were dropping everyone back. They played really conservative, so we just checked down. We ran the ball really well. And if that, that's how the offense really played. It's not like we played amazing on the offensive team tonight, but I think we did good enough to win. And that's why you get that B+. I think that's basically average. And then Taysom Hill, I mean, look, he's just been amazing. Obviously, we'll talk about more of him in the special teams, but I mean, he's, been less and less special teams and more into this offense. I mean, looking at it, that pass to Michael Thomas, it could have been a touchdown. He underthrew him just a tad, so it was only a 44-yard pass. But I think that was just what they can do with Taysom Hill. I wanted to see him pass it because, they were just coming way up. They were playing three safeties, and they were playing that three safeties in the box. And then, with Taysom Hill, because they knew he was going to run it. But now with the pass, now they're going to move back, do other things with Taysom Hill. And I really think that will make them more successful there. And just the whole Taysom Hill's experiment has been very, very good. And I think that, all his plays, it's just making this offense even better. Sean Payton's able to do even more, and that's just really, really big there. I mean, also, Drew Brees, he was 18 of 23, but he only had, a 5.2 average per pass, and just really besides that, he actually didn't get sacked at all. I think I said that he had one sack. He actually didn't get sacked at all in this game. So, that's a correction there. And I think that's just really big, having no sacks, and that's just huge, for me. I think that's just a really, really big thing. We'll get to the offensive line a little later. And now to the skill position players. I mean, to me, I'm going to give them a B. To me, it was Kamara, it was Ingram, and then it was Mike Thomas. And then no one really else stepped up. They did good enough to win. You get your B because of that. But I feel like Kamara played amazing, and we knew he was going to have a good game, and he just, the way he's able to get open on certain guys, I mean, these are not bad linebackers, they're very good, they're Pro Bowl linebackers in some cases, and he's getting open, he's making moves, he had that one drop, which I think could have, made the score, even bigger margin, but, I mean, he's just, what a player he is, and just the way he's able to, be shifty, break tackles, especially in the red zone, getting touchdowns, he's really, really good at that, and just, he's playing like he did last year. There's been no sophomore slump of any kind there. Mark Ingram, to me, he was really good in the fourth quarter, third quarter when they needed to ice this game, and he was able to go into the tackles and just give blows to the defensive players, get 5 yards of carry late, and he played really, really good. He ended up with 13 carries for 63 yards. He had 4.8 yards of carry, so that's just good. I think he had a good game, solid. I mean, to me, I want to see him to get more touches in the red zone. That's just me. I think he's a really good red zone back as well, and maybe to me, I think he should get 18 carries. I think that's what he should get, and Kamara should get probably 13 carries, and obviously Kamara is going to get the 7 catches or so out of the backfield there. So I think that's how the split should be, and we're getting closer and closer to that. So I think that's even better there. Onto the offensive line. I mean, I'm going to give them an A to an A+. I mean, this was just an amazing game against a really, really good defensive line. It was shut down, and I think that's how these guys have really played. I mean, looking at Ryan Ramczyk, who looks like an all-pro out there right now. Larry Walford's played basically just as good as he did in the past. Max Unger has been very, very solid, especially in the run offense, And then Andrews Peak coming back from the injury, no sacks, nothing really much from him. I think he had actually one holding penalty. Besides that, he was good. And then you got to give it to Terran Armstead. The way his athleticism, it's just amazing. People say he could play wide receiver. I mean, the way he comes out, and I think that's why the Saints are very successful in like the wide receiver screens areas, or the screens that stretch out a little more, because Armstead can really get out. He's very athletic, and I think that's the kind of screens we have to do now, because you can get that left tackle out. He's very, very fast, and he's nimble, and he can do a lot of good things there. So I think that's it from the offensive line. Going to the defensive line, I think this is the best defensive game we had so far against a really, really good offense. We played a very, very solid defensive game. D-line, you got to give him an A- here. I think they go into the A. I think it's the first time in a while they've done that. And, you got to give it to really Marcus Davenport, who had, the 2 sacks, and, they were huge sacks in that. And then also Sheldon Rankins, who was, having a career year, having a great season, and he was just busting through the middle, completely, embarrassing their center. So I think that's going to be, I think it's just the way he's played is just outstanding. He's getting better and better, having a really good third-year season. That's big. Also, Cam Jordan, he had a couple of tipped passes. I know he didn't have a sack, but just everything he's able to do, tackle for loss, it's just everything he's able to do. He's such a versatile defensive end, and his technique's amazing. His speed's amazing. He looks just as good as ever. And this defensive line for other teams must be scary. Going up against these guys. Also, Taylor Stallworth, he was playing really good too. Again, the run game, that was big there. So I feel like, the more and more we play, I think the more and more we're getting pressure. We had 4 sacks this time. That's obviously really, really big there. We also had, 5 tackle for losses. That was really big. And I just feel like these guys, they played a very, very solid game in the run and in the pass. So, even in the run where we've been amazing, I mean, in the beginning it didn't look good, but at the end of the game we were doing amazing against the run. So that was obviously really, really big there. They ended, with below a 4-yard per carry at 3.9. I mean, that's just, it's good, especially how we began the game with giving up like 5 or 4 yards a carry. I think that was just a good job there. Now on to our linebacker position, and to me, you got to give them an A here. They played very, very good once again, especially the quickness. Number one, Anzalone getting that fumble, kudos to him. He played really good, especially in the passing defense. He played good. He had a lot of nice plays, nice tackles. Same with Demario Davis, who's just a hawk around the field and making big plays there. And then also, Teo didn't play as much, but AJ Klein, he's played better and better each game. People are, making fun of him, not to Saints fans especially. They don't think that he's, that good, but I feel like now he's a very, very solid player now, and people saying because he's not that fast. Wait, there's a lot of things really, really good, and he's a, not obviously not a top tier player, not a Pro Bowl player, but he does a lot of things good. He's a sound player, and I think he's really, really good for this defense there. So now on to the cornerbacks, and I think you got to give him a B to a B plus here, and I think they played very, very solid. I said that I thought they were gonna have a big game, and I think they did have a pretty good game. Lattimore, outstanding. He looks back to his normal self now. The way he's able to, make pass deflections now, he's had a couple of nice, plays there with, especially now that I think he's confident that he's had a good second guy, with Eli Apple there, so I feel like that's big. The way he's able to, be physical again, I think he's really back to where he was last year, and I think that's really big. And now it's get better, I think, and that's what he's going to do there. Very, very solid game. Probably he'd be the, top 3 standout player there. He played good. And then also Eli Apple, I mean, we talked a bit about him, but he was good. The way he was able to me, stabilize that second spot, and he was able to just make some nice plays out of it. He also had a couple of pass deflections as well. And also, he had the most tackles on his team with 9. And that was, 9 solo tackles, So that was obviously really good there. So I feel like, strong outing for him. Looking at PJ Williams, we talked extensively about him, but I feel like I think he had a better second half, and he had a really good second half, and it was a good bounce back, and now it's just to get better there. I think he should, play just as good as he did in the second half, and I think that, we'd be fine. Look, he's not the best slot corner, by any means, but I think, he's workable, and I think that, he could have some really, really good games. So I feel like, look, if it was up to me, it depends what you can get for some corners. If you can get a really good slot corner for like a 4th rounder, why not, do it 3rd rounder, whatever you're, giving up here. But I feel like, if it's going to be that 2nd rounder, you're basically killing a draft now. I mean, is it worth it, So I feel like it has to be a really good player for them to get, that top slot corner. So I think that'd be really big there. But obviously now if they got Gary and Conley, I wouldn't be mad. I mean, he's a really good player, but I wouldn't give up the 2nd round pick. I wouldn't. I'm not, exchanging basically the full draft for a player that's how much better is he from P.J. Williams, I don't know how much better he is there. Garyon Conley played for Ohio State, and he's been pretty good, pretty solid there. But again, he's had some locker room issues. I mean, do we want to have that? No, look, it could be really big for this team. It could help us win a lot of games, win late games in January. But will it be worth giving up second round pick, maybe another stud player there? And I think if we're giving up now third, fourth rounder, especially in the 2020 draft, I'd be fine with that. But for the second rounder, I mean, I'd much rather give up player capital, if we could. But then it's choosing which player to give up. So I mean, I think that's what we got to look at there. Marcus Williams, I think he had a much better game here. Looking at it, he had a couple pass defense there, and then also 5 tackles, and he almost had that pick in the end zone. That would have been obviously a huge redemption moment for him. But I think he played good back to where it was a really tough moment for him. I think going back to the place where he really let down the team. I think he feels like he let down the team, and he had a good game there. I think he played good. And also Von Bell, I mean, he got hurt a little at the end, but it looks like he'll be fine. Another very, very solid game for him. He's having the best year of his career. Kurt Coleman, I think he had a little better of a game, but he's just not having that good of a year here. But he's not ruining this defense. I think, I don't think he's been like Jarius Byrd where, we need him to be good. We don't need Kurt Coleman to be good, but I don't think he was, amazing in this game. I think, he's going to probably play that reserve spot, and probably be pretty good there. But, I think it was just a really good game, just the final verdict. I think it was just a really good game, one of our better games of the season, and I think now we're hitting our full stride into a tough part of our schedule, and, it's going to be scary for other teams to go in to play in the Dome, and now we're, getting these wins, especially in the conference, very big. Now we go to the Rams. These are just big for seeding. These are very pivotal games. And now, especially when we go back to division games, that's going to be even bigger. And, the stretch is really hard. We have a very hard stretch really up to Thanksgiving. It gets a little easier from there, but still a tough schedule. And I think, we're going to have to capitalize on that. And I think that we're looking really good for, next week against the Rams. Obviously, we'll talk all about that on Friday. But that's going to be a huge game in the Dome, and I just can't wait for that. But with all that said, I think we should, get to talking about a little preview of the trade deadline. So, trade deadline is on Tuesday, October 30th, and I think we have a lot to see here. Now, the Saints already got a player ahead of the trade deadline. Obviously, I think a lot of Saints fans know. If you listen to this podcast, you would know. And the Saints picked up Eli Apple already. We're not going to talk about that deal anymore, but now it's future moves. Where can this team go? Where would I like this team to get another player, and then maybe some projected players who to get here. So I think we're going to get right into it. And the first, I think you got to look at 2 places: cornerback and wide receiver, and I think those are the really 2 big things for us here. First, looking at cornerback, obviously Garyon Conley, if we get him on a low-level deal, I think that would obviously be amazing. I think it would actually be a steal, because I think he's going to be a star in the making, especially his talent is really good. He had, before the draft, he had some issues off the field, but I think, those are all settled, and I think he's a really good player, especially coming from Ohio State, and then, you're going with 3 Ohio State corners. That would obviously, the camaraderie between them is going to be really, really big there. I think that's just that'd be a good move in my opinion. So, but if not him, other players like a couple players on the Broncos. I mean, they're not going to trade Chris Harris, but maybe Bradley Rowe will be a player like that. That could be big there, but I just don't see it. I mean, maybe, but to me that's just the place where you get better. I mean, but I just don't think Sean Payton and Loomis will do it, because they've already got a corner. Now getting 2 corners, it could happen. I wouldn't be surprised, but I would say, on the lower end of the spectrum, that's going to happen. And then also on the offense, I think the one spot I think we kind of need help is that skill position spot, and specifically at wide receiver. And I wouldn't be surprised if we went out and got a wide receiver, especially one that maybe has a deep threat. We don't have a deep threat really, so I think, I think we're going to go out and maybe get that deep threat. If Deshaun Jackson's available, maybe go after him. I know he's in our division, and I probably ask for more, but that would be a really interesting thing to have Breeze, Deshaun Jackson, Taysom. I mean, that's just, skill position player overloaded, but I think it'd be a really good move, and I don't think we would have to give away much because he's older, but I think he could be a really solid player there. If they're willing to give him up, I think that could be, our choice of player there, but I think, I think I'll wrap us up for the trade deadline. I think the Saints made their big move. I think Deshaun Jackson would be a really big move, but, I mean, maybe not. It's going to be, I think, a crazy day tomorrow. Last year the trade deadline was pretty crazy, and I think this year will follow suit. We've already had moves ahead of the trade deadline, and I think, obviously when, when there's a time crunch, more teams are going to trade. And I feel like, if we need, I think we should get a wide receiver. If you're asking me which rather move I'd rather have, I'd rather get Deshaun Jackson, because I think we kind of need that, speedster, deep threat guy. And I think that, Deshaun Jackson could really give us that there. But onto some Who Dat Nation fan questions. And our first and only question is by Who Dat 132343, and he asks, what's the best qualities of this team? So I think the first one is a sense of really, like a brotherhood almost. These players, they care about one another. The amount of camaraderie between these players is amazing. They stick together thick and thin. They want to get better, and they want that one goal. They're always going to that common goal about going far in the playoffs and achieving the one thing that, is extremely hard to get, and that's the Super Bowl championship. And I think, they're so tight-knit, and I think that they really care about one another. And I think, you don't see that many times in, NFL, or other sports, NBA, MLB. You just don't see that. So I think that's really big. Also, if you're looking at, more of the football side of it, I mean, you got one of the better coaches in the league. I would say a top 3 coach. You have a top 2, quarterback here, if not the best quarterback in the league. Really playing like the best quarterback in the league, but, he's probably top 3, top 2 there. Also, your defense is now starting to take the ball over. We're having more sacks. Cam Jordan's playing really good. That overall, the way they're able to win in different ways, the way they have just amazing coach, amazing quarterback, and then they're going to start taking the ball over. That's what they need to, that's the formula, to win a championship. And I really think that they have all the pieces right now. Now you just got to put it to work and keep grinding and, getting your craft better. Because I think, this defense every week, better. I think this was their best defensive performance. And I think, the week before that, every week we're getting better. And I think, next week against the Rams, another huge test. And I think that, this team can come through. Also, I mean, I said it earlier about them being versatile. They win in so many different ways. And I think that's, that's going to be big, in January. I think that's going to be big, December, big in, division games. That will be very, very big there. But, I think with all that said, I think it's time to wrap up this podcast. So, if you like this podcast, like this episode, and you haven't followed us already, you can follow us on Twitter at the Who Dat Dis, on Instagram at Who Dat Discussion. Also, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, our Google Play channel, our iTunes channel, our Spotify channel, and all on there we are at the Who Dat Discussion. And then on there, please please review, rate, leave comments, hit that notification bell, all that fun stuff that I know everyone loves doing. And it's just, if you can all do that, just be really, really big for me. I think we're going at a pretty good rate, but, more the merrier. You just want to talk to as many Saints fans as possible. I think, that's what this podcast is all about. So I just want to say thank you to the Who Dat Nation for making this podcast possible. So, with all that said, I just think, on to next week, on to the next one, you got that 24-hour rule, win or lose. And I think we got to go right back to work, prepare for Sean McVay, Todd Gurley and the Rams. I think we have a pretty good shot in this game, especially at home. We're playing really good. They've been playing a little shaky of late, even though they're undefeated. They've had a couple close calls, so I think we will be able to connect on that, knockout punch that, we want to get them. We don't want to make them, being undefeated 8-0. We want to knock them out, bring them back to that one loss. And I think this is just, it's a big game. I think this is going to be our hardest game of the year, in the regular season. So I think, we got to keep grinding and then, have a nice week of practice and then go into Sunday, have a really good game there. But with all that said, I want to say thank you, prove them right, and Who Dat?